Tyrese Halliburton, just like the rest of us, saw that epic off-the-backboard dunk by Ant-Man. He probably watched Joel Embiid and Donovan Mitchell pulling off that same stunt, and I'm willing to wager he didn't miss Jaylen Brown's not-so-successful shot at it either. But come Saturday night, Halliburton pulled a move straight out of the unseen playbook, tossing the ball off the backboard, only to whip a pinpoint pass to Siakam, who drilled a corner three. Sheesh, guys. From refs ruining games again,
I don't see how you call a foul on that shot. I don't see how you call that.
To Wembanyama's jaw-dropping 10-block triple-double, to Spencer Dinwiddie's laughable $1 championship bonus, this week's NBA action was as wild as ever. And believe me when I say, the Warriors are just as shocked as the rest of us. My calendar was lit up with must-see games this week, and I want to start off with the matchup between the Timberwolves and the Clippers. Now, this was a battle between the number one team in the West against the hottest team in the West, and spoiler alert, it was everything we hoped for and more. The Timberwolves, not once to shy away from a challenge, came out swinging. They were in the Clippers' house after all, and if you're going to take on hot shots, you better land the first punch.
He's been so good at that. He's so much better. And just a great finish by Ant, turning defense into offense, and Ant getting inside here and finishing.
But as we all knew, Kawhi Leonard isn't the type of guy who was just going to roll out the welcome mat in his own house. Wrapping up the first quarter, Kawhi slammed down a couple of dunks so fierce, you'd think he was channeling his inner MJ. It's clear as day why he's considered a top 5 player, as he casually dropped 10 points in the first quarter like it was just another day at the office. Following Kawhi's lead, the rest of the squad kicked it into high gear. Russell Westbrook was dishing and swishing like it was his glory days back in OKC. James Harden was hitting shots from every which way. And Paul George? Well, he tried keeping things PG-13 for families at home, but couldn't help himself as he turned up the heat in the third when he had Edwards dancing on ice, breezing past Rudy Gobert's outstretched arms for a finish that, in my opinion, would be rated R for violence.
Not enough, able to elevate, cut into this lead a little bit by the Timberwolves.
From there, however, the Timberwolves said enough was enough. Imagine if Olivia Newton-John's physical was the soundtrack of this moment, because Ant-Man, Cat, and Gobert started dominating the Clippers like how the Lakers did for the past 50 years.
Gobert in the lane. Pump and the flush! Right in the grill of Kawhi Leonard.
Despite the game being neck and neck for a while, the Timberwolves unleashed a fury, blitzing past the Clippers with a 40-19 run in the third quarter. The Clippers, playing at home, just couldn't handle the heat Minnesota was serving, and by the time we hit the fourth quarter, the Timberwolves had practically sealed the deal, leading by nearly 20 points. The showdown for Western dominance, it seems, had already concluded. Before the next tip-off, I stumbled across some NBA gossip that had me laughing out loud. Kyle Kuzma reportedly nixed a move to the Mavericks because he's all in on building with the Washington Wizards. Honestly, that might just take the cake for the best joke I've heard in ages. I mean, did Kuzma forget he has Jordan Poole playing Robin to his Batman? At this point, it looks like the former Laker is content with having that one championship ring to his name and isn't too keen on going through the fire for another. But who's still chasing that championship fire? This guy right over here. Giannis's determination was unmistakable during his face-off with Jokic and the Nuggets that very Monday. This wasn't just any game. It was the kind of matchup everyone had marked in bold. Forget Batman versus Batman. This was a clash of the Titans. Superman taking on Superman. The game plan for the Bucks was straightforward. Target the Joker. Sure, Jokic is a force offensively, but defensively, he's got his kryptonite, and Lillard was all too ready to exploit it. The Bucks hit the ground running, and even though the Nuggets managed to rally back a bit, Milwaukee, with Giannis at the helm, kept the heat on.
And that just opens up Giannis to come down, Kilborn, and
Denver quickly realized they were in for a tough night, especially with Giannis finding his rhythm. And despite Jokic's first-half heroics, the Bucks were up by 16 at halftime thanks to Giannis, aka the Greek Freak, and his 26-point onslaught. Then in the third quarter, I glanced at my watch to check the time, but all I saw was Damian Lillard's face staring back at me. That's when it hit me. It was Dame time.
Take the triple try, count it! 4-point play, coming!
The scoreboard reflected a 24-point gap following Lillard's 4-point play, turning the game into a blowout. During the game's garbage time, there was this priceless moment when Thanasis got hit with an 8-second violation. Seeing this, Damian Lillard started cracking up on the bench. But the moment he glanced over at Giannis, he got a quick reminder that the Antetokounmpo brothers don't do the whole laughing at each other thing. Lillard tried to switch his chuckle to stealth mode real quick, but not before the camera snagged that golden reaction. So, also on that jam-packed Monday, Victor Wembanyama turned heads in the Spurs versus Raptors game, pulling off a triple-double that had everyone talking. 27 points, 14 rebounds, and a whopping 10 blocks. Sheesh, guys. And check out this moment where just the sheer thought of Wembanyama had Grady Dick airballing a layup. Then, oh man, it's a good thing the refs let that double dribble slide because Wembanyama unleashed a block that sent his opponent to the Shadow Realm. And guess what? The Shadow Realm had a VIP list last night. In a showdown where the New York Knicks scraped their way back from a 16-point deficit, referee Jason Goebel decided to play gatekeeper to the Shadow Realm by slapping Jalen Brunson with a foul in the final breaths of the game.
And it all went down. They called a foul.
Post-match, Ed Malloy, the crew chief, got to replay that moment, and yup, he owned it. It was a bad call. The NBA's last 2-minute report, singing the same tune. So the refs kinda dropped the ball on what could have been a stellar game. The Knicks, not thrilled, launched a formal complaint, but with only 6 protests ever getting the green light in NBA history, the odds aren't exactly in their favor. Then came Tuesday, bringing with it moments that demanded attention. During a special night when the Orlando Magic honored Shaquille O'Neal by retiring his jersey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander turned the court into his playground, dropping 30 points, then telling the Magic to go home on their new floor. In the realm of today's top trash talkers, SGA is quickly climbing the leaderboard. Then, on Tuesday, in a game without Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat faced off against the Milwaukee Bucks, who were about to receive an unexpected lesson: that this guy can shoot. Oddly, the Bucks seemed to overlook Nikola Jovic as a threat from beyond the arc, a decision they'd soon regret as he effortlessly hit one open three-pointer after another, making it rain from downtown. Thanks to his sharpshooting, along with the prowess of Duncan Robinson and Kevin Love from distance, the Bucks were staring at a 15-point deficit by halftime, which widened to 22 by the start of the fourth quarter. Capping off the night, a fan's witty remark perfectly captured the mood. I know Bucks fans gotta be sick because every time the Heat see a Bucks jersey, they pull 3 names out of a hat at random to become the greatest three-point shooter of all time for that night. Now, on to the main event, Golden State's back-to-back matchups leading into the All-Star break. First up, Warriors versus Clippers. This game was a microcosm of Golden State's season. Steph Curry was simply electrifying, sinking 9 of 19 from beyond the arc to rack up 41 points, while Klay Thompson was the polar opposite, managing just 1 for 9 on his three-point attempts. Every shot Steph launched, I was convinced it was dropping, and every time Klay went for it, I was bracing myself. Switching gears, James Harden was a revelation. The Beard is undergoing a career renaissance with the Clippers, hitting shots with an efficiency that eclipses even his MVP days in Houston. That night, Harden netted 26 points off just 12 shots. He finally ditched the foul-drawing antics for a more determined approach. Despite this, the Warriors were holding their own, even pulling ahead by 14 early in the fourth. With Kawhi benched for injury management, it seemed like a done deal for Golden State. But then, Russell Westbrook and Norman Powell flipped the script, igniting a Clippers comeback in the fourth. Ironically, the night's unlikely MVP for the Clippers was Klay Thompson, whose horrible shooting and a crucial late-game foul played into their hands. All jesting aside, this was probably the lowest Klay has felt in a very long time. But the silver lining? He didn't have to wait long for a shot at redemption because The very next day, the Warriors faced the Utah Jazz, and man, did Klay light it up or what? Though he did have to sit a bit longer than usual, Steve Kerr likely still fuming over that late-game foul, benched Klay to start the game, something we hadn't seen in nearly a decade. But when Klay hit the floor, oh man, this was not your everyday Klay. This was Game 6 Klay in full force. Just a day earlier, every shot he took had me pleading for divine intervention, but in this game, I was in awe, uttering holy smokes. Klay was on fire, hitting 7 out of 13 from beyond the arc, single-handedly scorching the Jazz with 35 points. But he wasn't the sole sharpshooter on the court. Keontae George from the Jazz was channeling Curry's shooting magic, trading blows with Klay and sinking 9 out of 16 from three-point land, tallying up 33 points. Forget the All-Star three-point contest, this showdown was where the real action was. As the fourth quarter kicked off, the Warriors were sitting pretty with a 17-point cushion, eerily similar to the scenario the night before. But this is the Jazz we're talking about. A comeback seemed out of the question. Yet, was I wrong or what? Before I knew it, it was a one-point game with only seconds left to go on the clock. I was stunned. Could the Warriors really be on the verge of squandering another huge lead in consecutive games? Somewhere, Kendrick Perkins was likely wearing a smug grin, mumbling, "The dynasty's done." And then, the unexpected turned the tide. The most unbelievable turnover happened as John Collins launched the ball into the stands in a move that had shades of Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl winning throw. But unfortunately for Collins, this was basketball, not football. Just like that, the Warriors pulled off a win, dodging what could have been a repeat heartbreak from the night before. Up next for them is Tuesday's showdown with the Lakers. Any takers that LeBron's squad is somehow going to end up with a 20-plus free throw advantage? Just putting it out there. Oh, and Thursday had Giannis probably fuming as the Bucks lost a close one to the Grizzlies, 113-110. I'm scratching my head over this. No Morant, no Baines, no Jaren Jackson, and Milwaukee still couldn't win it? How does that even happen? But the real shocker of the week came Wednesday night with the Celtics facing off against the Nets. The guys in green didn't just win, they demolished Brooklyn by 50 points. Sheesh, guys. And for the week's unexpected twist, Deni Avdija dropped a whopping 43 points in a loss to the Pelicans. That got me pondering, could this be the rebuilding dream Kyle Kuzma had in mind with the Wizards? But I thought again and said, nah. Kuz is well aware, just like the rest of us, that chasing a championship in Washington is a hopeless endeavor. He's probably thinking, with a ring already on my finger and nearly $100 million contract to fill up my bank account, why chase the grind in Dallas where I'd get yelled at by Luka? Honestly, life in DC already seems pretty sweet for him. As for Jordan Poole, however, well, that's a different story.